A couple of Earthmen are flying to a planet where colonizers went almost 1,000 years ago, in the hope of finding salvation for all mankind there. I'm here, Queen. A spaceship from Earth is flying to the distant planet Antar. Pilots Jake and Adam are trying to contact the base, but there is no response. Apparently, the colonists died long ago because 900 years have passed since their expedition founded a space base and a permanent settlement in the most remote corner of the galaxy. Before telling the real reason for their arrival to the natives, it would be nice to first see how things are on the planet. Upon entering the atmosphere, the ship loses control and crashes. Although Adam and Jake remain unharmed, the guys get out and, having surveyed the wreckage of their ship, they realize that their tour has clearly come to the end. Adam has to provide medical assistance to a colleague who suffered a shoulder injury during an emergency landing. When Jake suddenly hears a dog barking, Adam chuckles. This is clearly the effect of the medicine, but immediately he hears familiar sounds himself. Going to investigate, Adam discovers a very wild-looking boy with a dog in his arms. The boy complains that they are being chased by snakeheads and rushes to run. Adam hurries after, while the child is surrounded by women in armor, grabbed and carried away. A few minutes later, Adam finds a metal knife in this place, and then a strong earthquake begins, which ends quite quickly. Adam calls Jake, asking him to do a geoscan, after which he goes further and soon sees a majestic building in front of him, entering which he discovers many women inside. Some are dressed in black clothes and perform clearly ritual movements, while the latter look like warriors in armor. A woman comes forward, who holds herself as a leader, but immediately the priestess Taxon appears in front of her, who calls on the mother snake to receive their blood sacrifice. And the next moment, from somewhere under the temple, the head of a huge snake shoots up. The priestess orders to bring the victim, and a longtime boy is brought forward, seeing which one of the guards screams in horror, because it's her brother Wool. The dove rushes to the boy's defense, and while she fights with the priestess's keeper, the snake grabs and swallows her rival. So he orders to capture the disobedient, but Queen Sumuru stands up for protection. According to the law, no one can kill a woman. And then, the snake itself committed sacrilege. Adam, who is closely watching the exchange of two beauties, suddenly receives a call from Jake. Noticing an outsider, the warriors themselves try to catch him, while Sumuru orders to bring the stranger to her after his capture. Adam and Wool run as fast as they can to the landing site. The warriors catch up with them, and Adam has to shoot back with his blaster, while Jake and Wool hide inside the ship. Adam is ready to follow them when one of the warriors wounds him with her arrow. He manages to get inside when the Queen's warriors appear outside. The samurai reminds who is in power here and declares the Earthlings his prisoners. The Taxon warriors have to leave. The Queen, having learned about the wound, helps Adam by applying local medicines, after which she orders to deliver the arrivals to her house and wash them, as she intends to interrogate Adam personally. They forget about howling, and the boy searches for his dog in vain when a dove comes out to his screams. The sister is angry at the fidget because today he could have died, but the boy just really missed her, and the naughty dog ran away from home. The girl reminds that now she can protect him, because if it wasn't for the Queen, Taxon would have fed him a snake. Meanwhile, Adam wakes up in the Queen's dwelling, where he immediately leads Jake. Men discuss the current situation. The Antares speak their language, which means that they are either descendants of the colonists, or a tribe that was in close contact with them. But why only women? Except Wool, of course. Adam suggests that the infected gene got here, but Jake does not agree, because then they would have died out long ago. In addition, he still managed to make measurements and found out that irreversible tectonic changes are taking place here, which means that Antar has 2 or 3 months left to live. Men conduct infection tests, but there are no traces of the disease. Then they notice Will peeping at them, and Adam suggests checking him out too. The planet begins to shake again, but the boy explains everything with the movements of the sacred earth. He fearlessly puts his hand under the scanner, and Adam is pleased to state that Will is perfectly healthy. The dove who appeared is indignant, but after learning that no one is going to harm her brother, she announces that the Queen wants to interrogate Adam after the bath. The man is led to the Queen's room. After completing the ritual, Sumuru begins by examining the Earthman's blaster. He warns of caution, but the Queen still shoots, scaring others, after which she begins to ask questions about where and why they came from. The man shows her a hologram of his planet, tells her about the Earth and about the first colonists. For 40 years in a row, the Antara space base sent reports to the nearest colony on Sirius, and then suddenly the connection was interrupted. Then there were constant wars, and no one cared about a distant colony. For 9 centuries, no one has ever tried to find out what happened here, so they came to help their dying planet. It turns out that the Queen is well aware of earthquakes, and she has very advanced engineers, and the sacrifice ceremony is an invention of the priestess Taxon, who thus maintains her power. The fact is that queens are not born on the planet Antar. They choose her, and at one time, the people chose her, and not Taxon, who considered the queen's throne her own, since she came from a family that had already had 3 queens for 3 centuries. Then, she proclaimed herself a living goddess. Some of the Antarians were so afraid of constant earthquakes that they turned to religion instead of science. And since then, Taxon has been using believers in the fight against Sumuru. Adam offers to evacuate the inhabitants, because there are many beautiful planets in the universe. But Sumuru does not understand how they can do this if their ship is broken, like all men's dreams. Now, women rule the planet, and men are used only for hard work, oil and gas extraction, tunneling, and procreation. The Queen leads the Earthmen to the mines where the men of Antar work, because they are needed only as a brute, brainless force. Adam is outraged by her statements and grabs the Queen by the hand. Her bodyguards rush at the offender, but Sumuru stops them. According to their story, a long time ago, a man brought the light of death on them, and since then they have been living like this. Adam does not understand how it is possible to live without love, and kisses Sumuru that he sees what has come to the Taxon mines. The Queen admits that she saved Adam because she needs his knowledge. The Earthman calls their system slavery and gets a slap in the face for it. The dispersed Queen begins to beat the man and orders him and Jake to be locked up. Taxon, who witnessed this conversation, orders her soldiers to kill the guards and bring the alien to her. The Taxon warriors carry out the order, and the pigeon dies, despite Will's warning. Before she dies, she asks her brother to tell the Queen about what happened. While the Earthman is being taken away by the Taxon warriors, the man is brought to the priestess, who tries to persuade him to her side by all means available to her, including sex, because Adam has a powerful weapon. At Adam's request, the goddess tells him a legend about the light of death. Once people lived in peace and contentment, but the gods were angered by a man's attempt to impose his opinion. A fire without a flame flew down from the sky, and the men standing nearby were burned. Therefore, women began to rule. So he kisses Adam himself, but he suddenly sees something behind the curtain and discovers a relic of bygone days. That's what the monitor priestess calls him. But there's a whole nest of snakes next to him. Adam kills the couple, and, despite Taxon's anger, activates the monitor. The woman considers what is happening magic and demands to hand it over to the goddess. When Adam refuses, the woman pulls out a knife, but Adam restrains her. The priestess calls the guards, but Sumuru and her men come instead of her soldiers. The Queen reminds the law, women cannot kill women. Taxon ridicules her intentions to punish her, for which he scolds the Queen. While the priestess is out, the Earthlings and Sumuru are thinking how to get out of the palace, because the Dachshund warriors guard all the tunnels leading to the old city, where most likely there is a clue to the Antara civilization. The group sets off. Sumuru tells that her people once fled from there and shows an amulet that Jake recognizes as the launch key of an ancient ship. She hopes that the men will fly away and everything will go as before. But then, Sumuru sees Taxon warriors ahead, and the group is forced to hide. Will remembers that there is another exit and leads the team there. But to get to the surface, you need to go through a prison where men are kept in terrible conditions. Seeing all this, the Earthlings rush to free the unfortunate, although the samurai threatens them with weapons. Here they are found by a group of Taxon warriors. A shootout begins, during which Adam and Jake lift the bars. The Queen is forced to give Adam his blaster, and he clears the way. Sumuru releases the men, and everyone runs to the surface. Taxon gathers the remaining warriors and hurries in pursuit. At this time, Sumuru admits that he is present at the birth of each child, and this moment decides who will live and who will exist. She thinks it's unfair, but it was still their way away. Adam says that Jake is very sensitive about this issue because his parents were slaves, and this is one of the shameful moments in the history of the Earth. Meanwhile, Tak himself understands that the fugitives are going towards the fire, and, despite the age-old ban, leads his people there. Meanwhile, The queen confesses to Wool that she has known his sister since childhood and admired her strength and loyalty. At this moment, an earthquake begins, people fall, and Summer has to admit that the Earthlings are right. The planet is dying. Soon, people find the skeleton of a man, whom the queen calls the keeper of the zone. Jake measures the radiation level and confirms that the man's death was caused by an atomic explosion. But now the background is normal, which means that the ship can be preserved. At this moment, shots are fired by the Taxan warriors. The queen and the Earth do not rush to the old city when another earthquake begins. Wool is filled up with stones, but Sumuru notices his absence in time, and people dig up the boy. Jake scans his body, and he asks about secret diseases, which worries Sumuru. Earthlings have to admit that a terrible epidemic took place on Earth, the cause of which was an infected gene, after which people lost the ability to reproduce. They are the last of the uninfected, and they did not fly to Antara with the hope of finding healthy people. Soon, the group finds a dome over the city of the first civilization and penetrate inside, where the fuel and the space shuttle should be located. Taxan, people who are afraid to go to the Forbidden Zone, also come there. And then, the priestess kills one of them. The others obey. At this time, Jake finds a common control panel. It becomes clear that once a quantum reactor exploded here, although the equipment is not damaged. The pilot activates the machine and proceeds to check it, while Adam and Sumuru find the space shuttle. At this time, Jake starts all the generators, and the shuttle can connect and start its reactor. After that, the pilot explains the reasons for the explosion, to which the operator's gender has nothing to do. The queen is in despair, because they were wrong all the time. Adam reminds us that it is human nature to seek the extreme. At this time, Jake introduces Will to look after the generators. While the boy laments the absence of his dog, Adam starts the ship's generators, while Taxan leads his men to the control panel of the general reactor. They open fire on Jake. Sumuru and Adam run to his aid. The two women come together in a knife fight when Jake informs that the common generators are about to explode and the shuttle needs to be released quickly. The queen cannot defeat her opponent in any way. Adam tries to stop them, but then he gets into the electrical panel himself and gets an electric shock. Jake takes the shuttle out of the hangar when Taxan, still alive, grabs a knife, tries to attack her rival again, and is killed by Adam's blaster. The ship finally rises up. Sumuru and Adam manage to get on board. Jake checks the operation of the systems and makes sure that the ship is able to carry all the inhabitants of Antar to a safe place. Adam asks Jake to get down, and the queen orders the people to enter the ship. One of the men gives her a whip, a symbol of royal power, but the woman throws it away, because in the new world, everything will be different. The ship is preparing to take off when a huge snake appears on the surface and tries to delay the shuttle, but Adam kills it with a volley from the reactor nozzle. One of the warriors returns Will his dog, and the surviving inhabitants of Antar go to a new home among the stars, fleeing from a planet that is about to explode from internal pressure. The good old fiction, where good overcomes evil, leaving hopes for a happy future. Well, subscribe to our channel, like it, and write your opinion about the picture.